There are 2 other offices above this one. And a giant computer system. Link number 4 in world control.
A computer?
And what's so remarkable about that? It's just a machine that can store a vast amount of information.
A machine that knows too bloody much.
Now you're being hysterical about it. The computer's very simple. You feed data into it. Anything from the Wall Street closing prices to the North Atlantic weather reports.
And you get decisions. That machine's taken you over.
It's just a machine. Extra hands for the people who know how to control it.
Are you trying to tell me that you listen to every word I say?
A machine does. Untouched by human hand.
What do you want?
We want people with low power quotients. We want them to work for us. Nothing more sinister than that. Special sort of job. The newspapers talk about the corridors of power, the power elite. Let's just say we'd like you to join the club.
Oh.
There's a vacancy in our newsreel department. We'd like you to help plan the news for 1973.
Come again?
Plan the news for 1973. News requires imagination. News requires responsibility. We think you're well qualified. Please.
Today, we're literally stepping into history. We're at Alexandra Palace, and this place has seen it all.
That's the studio in there.
2022 marks 100 years of the BBC.
Goodness me.
What began with a single radio transmission has transformed into a global broadcaster.
In that time, it's covered the biggest events of successive generations, working to inform, educate and entertain the nation.
For this woman, the compulsory sheltering and feeding of an extra 8 people. For the family who have fled this house, the immediate requisition of their home. For this man, perhaps imprisonment, if he refuses to billet.
8? I'm not having 8.
Sorry, sir, you've got to take 8.
I don't want to. I'm not having 8. I haven't got enough food in there for 8.
Don't argue, don't argue.
I warn you that under the emergency regulations, with 4 rooms and a kitchen, you can be forced to take 8 people. Bloody hell.
In a recent mock NATO battle in Europe, using only tactical nuclear weapons and described as a limited engagement, it was estimated that over 2 million non-combatants would have been fatally or seriously injured.
David Edward Thornley, age 37, general practitioner in medicine, now on the staff of one of a series of emergency medical aid units being established in preparation for a nuclear strike. Time, 9:11 a.m.
Where am I? Grandpa? What are you doing here?
Chris, welcome to the Skull and Bones Society. This is where the most powerful men in the world are groomed for their futures. Every president, every CEO, every douchebag named Ryan Seacrest. The Skull and Bones Society has been a part of my family for decades, and we want you to become a member.
Really? Wow, cool!
Excellent! You get your own stock portfolio, a percentage of the 9/11 Victims Fund, and the best medical care on the planet. You'll be kept as healthy as a horse.
I can feel the adrenaline sort of pumping through when I think back to some of the things that I, many others, were required to do.
Well, there have been other times in my life where I have been involved in death, yes. But I can't talk about that.
I wanted a mission. And for my sins, they gave me one.
Locked solid. Well, no,
I guess this isn't what you signed up for when you decided to be a famous actor, is it?
It's not my fault. I never wanted to be famous.
Sorry, kiddo. That's not the way I remember it.
But I didn't want to be famous. I wanted to go to school.
Hey!
It's true. All of those people cheering and applauding. I hated it. What's happening, Jiminy?
Looks like some sort of fairy magic. Kinda on the nose, if you ask me. But the point is, a lie can really change a person, Pinocchio.
Which is why I'm telling you, the 110% most honestly honest, truthiest truthiness ever. Believe me!
Take away the noise,
the fury,
the fighting voices, the distortions, cosmetics, the color and the flashy effects. But most of all,
you can take away the lies,
the slander,
the misrepresentation
that seeks to pull us apart. And then
you can find out
what's actually happening.
And when you find that,
then you'll find
BBC News.
Time 9:11 a.m. September the 18th. Dr. Thornley stops to make an emergency call. Berwick Street, Canterbury. "12 miles from the airfield at Manston on the Kent coast. This family couldn't afford to build themselves a refuge. This could be the way the last 2 minutes of peace in Britain would look.
The story of the events and the people who, over centuries, came together to bring us in from the cold and to wrap us in a warm blanket of technology is a matter of vital importance. I take going up in the world like that for granted. We all do. And as the years of the 20th century have gone by, the things we take for granted have multiplied way beyond the ability of any individual to understand in a lifetime. Down there is one of the biggest, most complex cities in the world, full of people using things as if they understood them, and sometimes not even knowing they're doing it. New York City, like all the other major high-density population centers scattered across the earth, is a technology island. I'd like you to meet a few people who were in or near New York City on a November evening over a decade ago. And the reason I'd like you to meet them is because they all have one thing in common. They were all brought to a sudden and catastrophic realization of how vulnerable they were, how dependent on one aspect of that technological network I was talking about. 5:10, Mount Sinai Hospital.
Sure enough, I'm just giving a bit of oxygen at the moment. I'll go to the cycle when you're ready.
Okay. The patient, Mrs. Marcana, is expecting twins. 5:15 at Kennedy Airport. At one of the international terminals, on the board, Scandinavian Airlines 911. Scandinavian 911 is on its way into Kennedy. The pilot is veteran Captain Carl Lofsted.
Kennedy approach control, Scandinavian 911. With information, Yankee. 5,000 feet approaching Riverhead.
Scandinavian 911, roger. Park Deer Park, 1221 radio vector final. Runway 4 right ILS.
Please fasten your seatbelts.
Runway lights at 2 o'clock. Okay, I see that.
With the next contraction, dear, you'll take a deep breath and push real hard, okay? I think one is about to start. Take a deep breath and push real hard. Okay. Push.
At Mount Sinai Hospital, Mrs. Marcana is in labor.
Okay, Fred, I think you can put her to sleep now.
Fair enough, miss.
The anesthetic being used at the time is a mixture of gases, including one called cyclopropane. It's potentially explosive, but everybody knows that.
Okay, Annie, we've got a baby.
It's now exactly 16 minutes and 10 seconds past 5. That's where this comes in. It's a relay, and its job is to detect changes in power going onto a transmission line. These up here. Power flows north along these lines, and on the particular evening in question, this relay detected an increase in power on one of those lines that was above a preset limit. When that happened, magnets set around this metal cup caused it to rotate, and that brought this arm to make a contact like this. That contact was made on the evening of November the 9th, 1965, at 16 minutes and 11 seconds past 5. As the network fell apart, links between one energy center and another broke. Instead of 300,000 kilowatts coming into New York to help meet demand, 1.5 million kilowatts were draining out of the city to supply areas now cut off from the network, but still connected like leeches to the New York generators.
Here we go again.
Okay, I've got her.
What the hell's going on?
Someone's playing a joke.
Hey, look!
The generators continued to trip out, and at Kennedy Airport, the radar screens went black. And Flight 911 was in trouble.
Roland, I got flag warning. Switch number 2 to the ILS. Okay?
You know, I have some candles. Maybe we can light them.
This abnormal business of actually talking to anybody on the subway caught on briefly all over New York.
Let's put some light on the situation. My birthday anyway. Anybody feel like singing happy birthday? Make a happy situation out of a terrible one. My name? Louise?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
But while this journey had taken on a meaning nobody expected, so too, at the hospital, had Mrs. Marcana's delivery of twins, thanks to the anesthetic.
There was then a general scurry around to find flashlights, and I immediately commandeered one so I could see what was happening. Niels, check the radio. Kennedy approach control, Scandinavian 911. The ILS went US.
I've got some wine here. What do you need? That's a cake.
The extraordinary thing in the subways was that a full hour into the crisis, nobody was trying to escape from the trap.
Yeah, it's not even a corkscrew. Would it be cricket to put one in here? Yeah. Okay. Now what we need is the knife.
Follow the head down.
I'm following.
Okay. All right.
Well, the baby was delivered without the lights because you didn't need the lights for the delivery. That's manipulative. Remember, you're reaching up into the uterus, grabbing a foot, which is strictly by feel. You rupture the membranes and you bring the foot down. The second baby was vigorous, and we repaired the P's.
There you go. Oh, you're such a pretty girl. Yes.
Kennedy approach control, Scandinavian 911.
Captain Lofted had only a few seconds left to make his decision. He was at 2,000 feet, past the airport and heading straight for Manhattan in the darkness. There was only one thing he could do. Lofted and 200 other jets that night landed with the help of radio working on planes sitting on the ground. And finally, as in all good fairy stories, it was over. A few days later, people were back at their daily routine as if it had never happened. The night New York became a trap, forgotten.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the eighth wonder of the world. The one and only
Hello, Pops.
Jumping jeepers. An almost real boy. Turn around, let me get a look at you. I will be right here when you get back.
Pinocchio is running around loose without a conscience. Can you imagine the trouble he's gonna get into?
Wouldn't want that on my conscience.
Everybody who's anybody wants to be a somebody.
But I want to be real.
Why on earth would you want to be real when you can be famous?
Pinocchio should have been home by now.
Welcome to Hotel Zanzibar. I see you have not stayed with us before, but please, feel free to linger in our corridor and take a butcher's around the 9th floor.
Mr. Blue and Mr. Brown are in the building.
Just a shame, Henry. Why speak you to your cuff? There's no one here. You're armed.
Yes, sir.
So chill. I take it we have all the channels?
Yes.
Ah, Mr. Brown, your luggage is within. Do you need a tour of the room?
Not fast.
Sleep well, sweet prince. He shall not live the night. 'Tis understood assassins wish him dead, to cleanse our country of his family's line. So when Prince Rico meets my little friend, and grief does shake the old king of his wits, my father stands in readiness to rule, then I will wear the prince's crown instead.
Сейчас на украинской территории.
Головне.
Mr. BBC?
More bodies here.
Are they going to get past here, or are they going to get past you and these men?
How soon do you think it could be before there is real fighting here?
Guy, just... Stop! Get in here! Stop!
And I'll be 911. Not 912.
Young man, I wish to order some room service, which is off menu, if you catch my drift.
I do indeed.
Here. The other half will come
After you do. I understand. Leave it with me. I know just the girl for you.
Do you have the key card?
Yes, got it here. Doesn't seem to work. Don't know why. No joy. I'll go back to reception. You wait here.
Is that the letter, madam? Are you locked out of your room?
Yes, my boyfriend's gone to fetch another card.
Oh, they are most unreliable.
Boyfriend?
No, the key cards. So do you want me to let you in? I've got a pass key.
No. Do you have any other rooms available?
There's nobody booked in 913. I can show you in there if you like.
You're right. A woman should be wooed with care.
Excuse me, yes. I hate to be a bore. I was looking at my key card and I saw the number of this room is 911. For me to stay in here can't be done.
Well, you do not like the number, sir.
No way.
Well, 914 has just come free today.
Oh, I'm very superstitious as a rate. To stay in 9/11's tempting fate.
Well, at least you haven't had to travel far. Have you taken anything from the minibar?
No, but will you tell the bellboy on this floor the water sports will now be 914?
When these blue rivers in my wrist do run and mingle with the cheap bath salts and soap, then will my guilt drain out with them to sea. And will my children mourn? I can but hope. My boys, my twins, were given up at birth. Their mother died. I was still in jail. One stayed in England, one was sent abroad. I know not what became of either one. So tonight, I will put me to my sword.
Refugees are getting out of here, and so are we.
Chaos here, people desperate to get on board. It's awful, and I just want to understand from you.
I left my parents in Sume.
They couldn't come with you?
Where were you at the exact time of the attack?
Are you not concerned that Russian officials will be tried for crimes against humanity?
What you read about what's happening on the ground.
And you're ready to pull the trigger on that gun.
Why is that?
If that is what you think of him, how do you sit across the table to try to stop the war?
Live in 5, 4, 3.
Well, has she flown? Oh, these sodding keycards never bloody work.
Sir, may we speak plainly once again?
Of course.
You're barking up the wrong tree. Your room is down here. 911.
Oh, I see. That'll be why the card refused to work.
Your room service is on its way.
Oh, great. Bring it straight up, will you? And, be discreet.
Naturally.
And they away.
Quiet, have some tact. We must discuss the tariff for this act.
I have to pay.
No, madam, I pay you.
You know I'm staying in here tonight.
Okay.
I need some space.
I cannot what you do.
You really are a pig.
What's that?
Who's that?
Just go back to bed and I will join you soon.
Are you the gentleman from 9/11, Mr. Brown?
I'm Mr. Brown's security advisor. What mean you with him?
He's ordered some executive relief.
Ici, Londres. Les Français parlent au français.
All the diplomats are spies. All of them.
You mean there are Secret Service operatives inside British embassies?
Well, he said, before you do anything, will you please sign the Official Secrets Act? So he produced a piece of paper and I signed it. He said, well, I can now tell you that you have joined His Majesty's Secret Service.
Hello and welcome to a Top Gear special. We're here because we're going to have a race. 400 miles over mostly frozen ocean in that direction to the North Pole. Now that's never been done before. No one has ever tried to drive to the North Pole.
To beat the human lamppost, I would be using, naturally, a Toyota pickup truck. Inside, there was marine satellite navigation, and underneath a long-range fuel tank filled with a freeze-resistant mixture of diesel and avgas. So here we are, going further north than any car had ever been before. Riding on a thin crust of ice over an ocean 1,500 feet deep. Just us, a film crew, 2 Icelandic mechanics and a soldier. An insignificant 9-man blot in the pristine white vastness. After our morning snack, James found my Jesus.
Why have you brought Jesus? What? Why have you brought Jesus? But Jesus, I thought, could sit in the car and guide us in our hours of need if we ever have one.
Is a Jesus action figure?
He is. There's a map on the back here to guide us.
Galilee.
So we set off, and with a bit of divine guidance...
I am the vine, you are the branches. If a man remains in me, and I in him, he will bear much fruit.
We made it uneaten to the other side of the island.
That's very beautiful. I mean, look at that.
It's not bad, is it?
Absolutely astonishing. Look at it! Look at that! It's one of those Star Trek scenes, you know, in Star Trek, where they land on a hostile planet.
And that's some other sun.
Yeah, it's that.
75 miles to the pole.
I know.
At last, we were clear.
James, we're gonna do it. And then
left.
Where are you? I expected a sort of shining beam of light coming out of the Earth's core. I go this direction.
Yeah, hey, right, ready for it, ready. Yes!
Yes! It's here! It's here!
It's been said since Superman's creation that Superman is a type of Christ figure. For example, his heavenly Kryptonian father sends his only son to Earth to save mankind. And Superman is 33 years old when he finally reveals his great powers to the world, the same age as Jesus when he went to the cross.
North, Miss Tessmacher. Due north.
North, Miss Tessmacher. North!
Yes, thanks. North.
Oh, you must be wrong, Lex. This couldn't be his home way up here.
Wrong, Lex. Miss Tessmacher, those are two words we do not use in the same sentence.
Now, an artist's flat decorated with lions and minotaurs has been granted Grade 2 listed status after a campaign to save it. Ron Gittin's unique work was discovered in his Birkenhead home by his relatives following his death in 2019. Our correspondent Sophie Long has the story.
From the outside, this unassuming end of terrace might look like any other house. But inside, Ron's place is anything but. There was a rental agreement that said Ron could redecorate according to the tenant's taste. And he did. Turns out minotaurs, giant lions, and Roman bread ovens were all to Ron's taste. And on almost every surface, he left his artistic mark. Ron was well known in the neighbourhood, but it was only after he died that people got to see inside his home.
The first time we crossed the threshold after Ron died, it was really like being an archaeologist going into like an ancient Egyptian tomb. And it was just utterly overwhelming. He's always made things and covered his wherever he's lived and always rented in murals, as my nan used to call them. But I mean, this was just kind of to an extreme degree.
The discovery was so special, his friends and family just knew it had to be saved. And so they formed Wirral Arts and Culture Community Land Trust. And after a donation last year, they were able to buy it so they could turn Ron's home into a holistic house of art. Now it's a listed building.
The news about the listing is just absolutely out of this world. I mean, it's been such an uphill struggle, a real roller coaster trying to save Ron's, but we were utterly determined. This news just validates our belief in that Ron's place is worth saving.
Ron would, they say, be made up by the listing. As some of his chosen outfits suggest, he wasn't averse to a bit of attention. Sophie Long, BBC News.
Look, Superman. I got a proposition for you. Now, don't stop me. Don't stop me till you've heard this, because I know I owe you one, but we're in the North Pole, right?
It is what it is.
Announce my candidacy.
I am doing this to win.
Sorry, I'm just trying to get some ranch.
And that little girl was me.
An Asian man who likes math.
When I wrote the damn bill.
I'm going to harness love.
He crossed a threshold.
I make a lot of money.
He gave us no choice.
I'm gonna get me a beer.
Now, more on the latest building collapse in New York. You might have heard a few moments ago, I was talking about the Salomon Brothers building collapsing. And indeed it has. Apparently that's only a few hundred yards away from where the World Trade Center towers were. And it seems that this was not a result of a new attack. It was because the building had been weakened during this morning's attacks. We'll probably find out more now about that from our correspondent, Jane Stanley. Jane, what more can you tell us about the Salomon Brothers building and its collapse? Presumably there were very few people in the Salomon building when it collapsed. I mean, there were, I suppose, fears of possible further collapses around the area.
That's what you would hope, because this whole downtown area behind me has been completely sealed off and evacuated, apart from the emergency workers. That was done by the mayor, Rudy Giuliani, much earlier today, because of, of course, the dreadful collapse of the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center. But New York, very much a city still in chaos. The phones are not working properly, the subway lines are not working properly. And we know that down there near the World Trade Center there are 3 schools that are being turned into triage centers for emergency treatment.
Jane, I think many of us, when we heard the news, perhaps on the radio earlier today, were completely flabbergasted by it and just couldn't comprehend it. I mean, it almost sounded too far-fetched. I was wondering what it's felt like for you being in Manhattan. Well, unfortunately, I think we've lost the line with Jane Stanley in Manhattan. Perhaps we can rejoin her and follow that up later.
These are all the individuals from last year doing their thing, running 100 meters and all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the American man here was incredibly fast. Yeah. Really incredibly fast.
It's quite close, isn't it?
Oh, message? Oh, from Michelle. How very amusing. So you would like to watch it together?
Yes.
Let's have a look.
Hey, Prince Harry, remember when you told us to bring it at the Invictus Games?
Careful what you wish for.
Oh, really? Please.
Boom.
We've just got some pictures in from New York of the latest building to collapse. That's the Salomon Brothers building. That's 47 stories tall. There you can see it going. So this happened, some 6 hours or so after the collapse of the World Trade Center. Presumably, it was so close to the World Trade Center that it had been weakened by the explosions and the collapse of those buildings. We were talking to our correspondent in New York a few moments ago, trying to find out what sort of casualties might be involved in the collapse of this building, but it's just in the realm of guesswork. Most people, it's assumed, had been evacuated from the building, and perhaps there'd only be a skeleton staff there.
Well, in New York, the rescue effort is really just getting underway after the collapse of not just the World Trade Center's Twin Towers, but also the 47-story Solomon building next door to it. For the latest, we can go now to New York and join our correspondent, Jane Stanley. Jane, bring us up to date, if you can, on what's happening now.
Well, we still have no further concrete word on casualty figures, as you said, though people are expecting very horrific numbers. But just down behind me, where the World Trade Center towers used to be, we can still see a thick plume of smoke and of ash in the air, and queues of rescue vehicles, heavy lifting gear being brought in, reinforcements of police in buses and cars, ambulances, all the emergency services getting in. And we have unconfirmed as yet reports that as many as 200 firefighters may have been killed and 70 police officers are missing. They were emergency personnel around the building when the towers fell down. So New York in a state of panic and of great grief.
After the collapse of the Solomon building, Jane, are the other buildings in that area stable? Hello, Jane?
Nada.
No, I think we've lost Jane Stanley in New York. We'll try and get back to her later.
What does this mean for the future of the Iowa caucuses?
Nothing good.
You have shocked the nation.
I'm very much alive.
Forcing candidates to call off rallies.
They said that you have no choice, Mr. Lubimov. Either your career is over or you work for us.
We are cut from the same cloth.
The best is yet to come!
This is deadly stuff.
$750.
The Senate has more than sufficient time to process a nomination.
The new question Supreme is, Court Justice, radical left. Will you shut up, man? Listen, who?
A hot mess.
You have a great smile.
Thank you.
So
I am the least racist person in this room.
I'm bringing up all this malarkey.
Suburban women, would you please like me? Congratulations. Thank you, Steve.
I, Stephen Mnuchin, do solemnly swear.
I, Stephen Mnuchin, do solemnly swear.
Now Mnuchin will head the Treasury Department with his signature on every American bill.
Have you been working on your signature for the
I have indeed. I have indeed. So I've been practicing it, so it'll be nice and neat on the money.
Mnuchin's career has also been dotted with controversy. He profited from the housing meltdown. His father worked at Goldman Sachs, and Steve followed him to the firm. Mnuchin donated to both parties over the years, including Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign in 2008.
You were both in Skull and Bones, the secret society.
It's so secret we can't talk about it.
What does that mean for America? The conspiracy theorists are going to go wild.
I'm sure they are. I don't know. I haven't seen the web.
Number 322?
You both were members of Skull and Bones, a secret society at Yale. What does that tell us?
Not much, because it's a secret.
Is there a secret handshake? Is there a secret code?
I wish there were something secret I could manifest.
322, a secret number?
There are all kinds of secrets, Tim, but one thing is not a secret. I disagree with this president's direction that he's taking the country. We can do a better job, and I intend to do it.
And we'll be watching. Be safe on the campaign trail. John Kerry, thanks for joining us.
They both belong to a group called Skull and Bones.
The Yale University Secret Society Skull and Bones, better known to you as President George Bush. Now, for the first time in the history of that Yale club, 2 of its former members will go head-to-head for the presidency.
You may think that George W. Bush and John Kerry have little in common, but both men count themselves as members of Skull and Bones, Yale University's oldest and some say most elite secret society.
Skull and Bones dates to 1832. It was, in fact, a reaction to a secret society, the Masons, then much more influential than they are today. Founder William Huntington Russell thought of his little conclave as sort of anti-Masons, and as a home for the wealthy and the powerful and the people who would do anything for another Bonesman. Each year, 15 Yale undergraduate seniors are tapped for membership, initiated in controversial, murky fashion dramatized here in the movie The Skull.
Skull above any other. Say, skull above any other.
Fashion satirized here in The Simpsons.
Who gets Atlantis off the maps? Who keeps the Martians on their ramps? We do.
Members of Skull and Bones, that is, not of the Stonecutters, gather on High Street in the Yale campus at The Tomb. New members, the neophytes, are expected to do things like lie in coffins and wrestle in mud and kiss a skull and confess their sexual histories in front of the group to bond themselves together further still and presumably just for a few laughs. Once you're in, you're in. Skull and Bones is for life. Talking about Skull and Bones is for others. And there are a lot of Bonesmen who did not talk, but did succeed. Henry Luce, who created Time Magazine and all its cousins. Harold Stanley, founder of Morgantown. Henry Louis Stimson, the Secretary of War under FDR and Truman. William F. Buckley. Averill Harriman, longtime governor of New York. And then there are the presidents. William Howard Taft, whose father Alfonso had helped found the group, and whose son Robert was a senator. George Herbert Walker Bush, whose father Prescott was a Bonesman and a senator. The current President Bush, although his kid at Yale has not been tapped for Skull and Bones, even though they do admit women now. His child is not Skull and Bones. His opponent is John Kerry, Bonesman, class of 66. But if this needs to be weirder for you, try this. His wife, Teresa's first husband, the late senator from Pennsylvania, John Heinz, his father was Skull and Bones. So we have an all-secret society presidential election. Not that either of them are talking about it.
The initiation rituals of a secret society that's been around since 1832. Whose members have gone on to be leaders of Wall Street and the White House, the Senate and the Supreme Court.
They're sort of trying to scare the initiates, make them, disorient them, frighten them.
New York Observer investigative reporter Ron Rosenbaum accompanied a team of Yale students who shot these pictures 9 days ago. Rosenbaum's curiosity about Skull and Bones was permanently piqued when, as a classmate of George W. Bush, he lived right next to The Tomb, the group's heavily fortified home. From their perch, Rosenbaum and his cohorts taped the tomb's courtyard. What they captured, they say, was initiates, known as neophytes, being forced to kiss a skull, then members performing a mock killing. It may look like your average fraternity nonsense, but Rosenbaum says it's not.
Even though it may seem silly to us, it seems to mean something to them, and you can't argue with the success of Skull and Bones.
Does it still exist?
Today, April 14th, 1973. First historic pictures by Radstar of the combined U.S.-Russian landing on the moon. Shown here are Majors Webb and Mikhailovich taking their first steps into the unknown, firing their retro rockets to land their spacecraft on the dust-covered surface. A comforting note for us stay-at-homes, both the Pentagon and the Kremlin have announced that the moon has no strategic value.
A comforting note for us stay-at-home. I can't show you any film on this next model. We haven't photographed it yet. But this is the way it will sound.
June the 22nd, 1973. The State Department releases film of the ultimate weapon, codenamed Icarus. This satellite is equipped with a solid reactor. In layman's terms, it can freeze air solid, stopping all missiles, killing all forms of life. Icarus orbits at the same speed as the Earth, can hang in position over every major city that threatens the peace-loving nations.
But this is going to happen in 1973. You're going to make this happen?
No. We're going to make models, much cheaper. Then we photograph the models. For the past 10 years, people have been looking at our fake newsreels and listening to our fake commentaries.
And they accept it for the truth. Well, what about the Russians? They're supposed to have quite a pile of these things.
We were surprised when they started their tests. Then we got a few feelers from their Secret Service. Nowadays, we work very closely together. Oh, all these stories about spies going off to Russia. Mr. Philby, remember? Just good copy for the Sunday papers.
Good copy. Well, the Chinese, I mean, they've just announced their bomb.
Yeah, we played along with it. We recorded their phony explosion. We're rather hoping the Chinese will come along, complete the pattern, you know.
In Vietnam, hundreds of people are being killed every week. Well, you can't do that with your models.
No. And you can't cure people of bad habits in 2 generations. They like to carry rifles. They like to put lines on maps. And we let them because we control the situation. There's no danger of world war. Just a simple choice for everybody. Capitalism or communism. Strawberry or vanilla.
And you can do it. Stop 100 people in the street. How many of them have actually seen a missile or a satellite? They're just told they exist and they believe it.
Yes, you're getting there. I knew you would.
You won't be a puppet anymore. That's for sure.
Pinocchio, be brave.
Truthful. Non-selfish.
You will always be my real boy.
Mobile phones, I hate them. I just find them really irritating.
The horror. The horror.
Rehearsal, Mr. Merton.
Oh.
Room 101 returns. Tomorrow at 9 on BBC Two.
A future that Ernest Cline, the writer of the book, envisioned. I was very careful with Ernie collaborating with me every step of the way to be able to find the movie narrative inside this dense forest of Ernie's profound imagination.
The Oasis being the ultimate toy box with all the toys in the world and then playing that with one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. It results in just amazing action and such a fun adventure.
Ernest Cline is such a visionary, and I think has seen the future before any of us possibly could even imagine it.